All right, let's talk about something that drives even the most hardcore Bitcoin fans a little nuts. What are you actually paying for when you send some Bitcoin? And more importantly, why does that cost feel like it's on a roller coaster every single day?
I mean, it's a totally fair question, right? You try to make a tiny payment, and suddenly the fee is just bonkers. It's confusing, for sure. But stick with me, and by the end of this, you'll know exactly what's going on under the hood.
Okay, let's dive right in. To really get a handle on these costs, we've got to break them down because here's the secret. You're not just paying one single fee. And this right here is the key to everything. Every time you make a transaction, you could be paying two completely separate costs. One goes to the Bitcoin network itself, and the other might go to the service or app you're using. Getting this difference is like step one to becoming a pro. So let's give these two costs a name. On one hand, you have network fees, and on the other, you have gateway fees. They're paid to different people for completely different reasons. First up, the network fee. You can think of this as the essential one. This is basically a tip to the miners all over the world who are using their powerful computers to verify your transaction and lock it into the blockchain. It's what keeps the whole system secure and chugging along. Now, the gateway fee, that's a whole different story. This is all about convenience. It's what you pay a company for making it easy to use Bitcoin, for their slick app, their customer support, or their in-store payment terminal. This fee has nothing to do with the miners. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. Look at the left. Network fees go to miners, they keep the blockchain safe. And the price is all about supply and demand. Now look at the right. Gateway fees go to a company. They're for tools and software, and the price is just based on whatever that company decides to charge. See? Two different worlds.
So, this brings us to the big, obvious question. If these fees have a job to do, why are these so unpredictable? What's behind those wild price swings we all complain about?
In one word, congestion. The absolute best way to think about it is to imagine the Bitcoin network as a major highway. When everybody wants to get on the highway at the same time, say during rush hour, you get a traffic jam. And to get into the fast lane, you got to pay a higher toll. And just how high can that toll get? Well, you might want to sit down for this. During the big market boom in 2021, the average fee for a single transaction hit $60. 60. That's what happens when network demand goes through the roof. This chart really shows you the insane difference. When traffic is light, your fee might be $1, maybe less. But when it's total gridlock on the network, bam, it can skyrocket to $60 or even more. It's pure supply and demand for that limited space on the highway. Okay, and this is a super important point that a lot of people miss. The fee has nothing to do with how much money you're sending. You could send $1 million and pay less than someone sending $10. Why? Because you're not paying for the value, you're paying for the space your transaction takes up. More data equals more space, which means a higher fee. So while network fees are kind of the Wild West, those gateway fees we talked about are much more predictable. They're just set by the company. Let's really quickly look at the 4 most common ways they structure their pricing. So the main thing to know is that you've got to pick the model that's right for you. A flat fee is awesome if you're making a few big, expensive sales. But if you're a coffee shop selling tons of $4 lattes, a percentage-based fee makes way more sense. The other models are great for bigger businesses that can predict how much volume they'll do. All right, so with all this talk about unpredictable, sometimes crazy high fees on the main network, you're probably thinking, how could this possibly work for just buying everyday stuff? Well, that's where a really brilliant solution comes into play. It's called the Lightning Network, and you can think of it as a brand new express lane built right on top of that main Bitcoin highway. It's designed specifically for one thing, handling tons of small, fast payments. And the cost to use this express lane? You're not going to believe it. We are talking about fractions of a single cent for each transaction. Yeah. Now, compare that to the $60 fee we saw earlier. The difference is just staggering. So, for a business, why use it? I mean, the benefits kind of speak for themselves, right? Your payments are instant. The fees are practically zero. And maybe most importantly, they're predictable. It's a total game changer for things like retail stores, coffee shops, or online creators. Okay, we've gone through the what and the why. Now for the really good stuff, the how. How can you actually start lowering your Bitcoin costs, like today? Here's a super simple 5-step action plan. Let's run through them. 1, use a SegWit wallet.
All that means is it's an upgrade that makes your transaction data smaller, so it costs less. Simple. 2, if you have to pay a bunch of people, batch them all into one single transaction. It's way cheaper. 3, try to avoid digital rush hour. Send your transaction when the network is less busy, like overnight. 4, for all your small daily payments, just use the Lightning Network. It's a no-brainer. And 5, shop around. Pick a payment gateway that's transparent with their fees and has a model that works for you.
Look, at the end of the day, it all comes down to this. Paying attention to these fees isn't just for tech geeks. If you're using Bitcoin, understanding this stuff directly impacts your wallet and your bottom line. It's just that important.
And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question for the future, doesn't it? With amazing tools like the Lightning Network getting better and more popular every day, are we finally about to solve one of the biggest roadblocks for Bitcoin going truly mainstream? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.